Recession. Stop investing in 2022. The 7.9 inflation rate in February surprised everyone. It was the highest rate in decades. Experts reassured us, stating that we have reached a peak and that the Fed will do everything imaginable to reduce the number. However, March's inflation rate was significantly worse, rising to 8.5%. Prices in the United States reached their highest level since 1981. When you think about it, that number is a disaster since inflation should not exceed 2%. Yet that number is nearly 4 times greater. It has a psychological effect as well. If consumers believe that prices will rise even more, they will rush to the stores to purchase the things they desire before prices rise even more, boosting demand and ultimately leading to an even greater inflation. The Fed is caught in a bind. On one hand, it wants to raise rates to finally get inflation under control. On the other, big rate increases will produce a recession or perhaps depression. So they're just saying they'll boost rates when they're actually doing nothing. The economic system is complex. There are hundreds of millions of people and hundreds of thousands of businesses in it. A single wrong turn can send the economy into a downward spiral that will take years to recover from. But why are prices rising in the first place? How long will they continue to rise? Is a recession or depression on the horizon? What should be done to prepare for the next crisis? All of these and many more will be addressed. But first, give this video a thumbs up, and then let's get started. The rise in oil costs is one of the key causes behind the price increase. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia has shocked the world and driven up oil prices dramatically. Oil prices hit negative 37 in 2020, signaling that the end of oil is near. Renewable energy sources were flourishing, while people were stuck at home, reducing fuel demand dramatically. Since 2018, scientists have predicted that the world will no longer rely on oil in the next 15 to 20 years. Oil is currently worth more than $100 in 2022. When a major oil producer is involved in a conflict, oil prices rise, resulting in higher prices all over the world because oil is used to transport everything. As a result, the longer the situation in Ukraine drags on, the higher the costs will become. Russia may be the world's largest country, yet its GDP is comparable to that of South Korea. It is reliant on natural resource exportation, which is both a strength and a problem. Russia not only produces 12% of the world's oil and exports a similar percentage, but it is also the world's largest natural gas provider, accounting for 14% of total supplies. In the case of the EU, Russia accounts for nearly half of the EU's gas imports and 40% of its total gas consumption. When it comes to coal, Russia produces 5% of the world's consumption. Countries all around the world, particularly in Europe, rely on Russia for energy. To give you an idea of how much the globe relies on oil and gas, consider the following. Crude oil accounts for roughly 33% of world energy demand. Coal accounts for roughly 30% of the total, with natural gas contributing for around 24%. This equates to roughly 87% of worldwide human energy requirements. That is why barring Russia from the global economy has resulted in such a severe energy shortage. The United States and the United Kingdom have already banned Russia oil, but Europe cannot soon follow suit because certain nations rely on Russia for more than half of their energy. Energy prices will continue to rise as long as the situation in Ukraine continues, implying that inflation will continue to rise globally, including in the United States. because Americans' income does not rise by 8.5% every month. Their purchasing power will decrease as prices rise. Lower demand leads to lower revenue for businesses, which leads to cost cutting, which results in increased unemployment, which leads to lower demand since people are unable to work, and the cycle continues indefinitely. That is why inflation is so dangerous. If it is not controlled, it may easily pull the economy into a recession. However, even if the situation in Ukraine is resolved, oil prices are unlikely to fall because Russia has no plans to leave the country. The Russian Empire, known as the Soviet Union at its peak, stretched from East Germany to Afghanistan. Although it lacks the resources to recover all of that land, Russia has worked hard to keep former Soviet republics dependent on it since the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The true purpose of the invasion of Ukraine is to integrate it into Russia. In reality, Russia will continue to expand its frontiers until they reach the Carpathian Mountains. Take Kazakhstan, the world's 9th largest country. It is strongly reliant on Russia economically. A demonstration erupted in one of the cities in January. Guess who the president of the country requested assistance from? Exactly, Russia. Russian troops flew all the way to Kazakhstan to put down the protests. Russia will try to take over Kazakhstan peacefully once it has taken over Ukraine, and if the protests explode again, Russia can use the same justification to send its military to Kazakhstan. Furthermore, Russians make up 20% of Kazakhstan's population. Most former Soviet republics such as Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and other Central Asian republics have a similar background, and some of these nations, such as Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, are important oil producers. With so many conflicts ahead of us, oil prices are unlikely to stabilize anytime soon, which is why the US is placing the toughest sanctions on Russia in history in order to deplete its resources and prevent it from starting another conflict. Another confrontation that could cause costs to skyrocket is the inevitable invasion of Taiwan. Taiwan is a major electronics manufacturer, while China is the world's largest exporter of computer chips. Computer processors are already in short supply around the world, which is why the PlayStation 5 is unavailable and graphic cards are now more expensive than cars. If China invades Taiwan and the US imposes sanctions on the world's second largest economy, which may soon become the world's biggest, a lack of chips will result in unprecedented global inflation. If you want to understand the situation in depth, watch Johnny Harris's brilliant video outlining why China will eventually take over Taiwan. This may not happen this year or next, but China is hell-bent on colonizing Taiwan to the point where the US has refused to recognize it. High energy costs, wheat shortages, and semiconductor scarcities are leading experts to fear that we will not suffer a recession, but rather stagflation, in which prices continue to rise as economic development slows and unemployment remains relatively high. That is the absolute worst-case scenario. We can make all the forecasts we want, but only time will tell how things will turn out. The war in Ukraine may force Russia to reconsider invading another country, as well as change China's attitude about conquering Taiwan. All of these are possibilities. That is why the impending financial disaster will be unlike anything we have ever seen before. On top of that, the Fed can't afford to keep interest rates low since it's already losing control over inflation. Excessive debt, such as the European debt crisis of 2008, asset bubbles such as the dot-com bubble, or a sudden economic shock such as the pandemic that rocked the world in 2020 and forced us all to quarantine, are all common causes of recessions. All three reasons appear to be present in the upcoming recession. The only issue is that it is unclear how to prepare for this emergency. The stock market is in a bubble, and the Federal Reserve may be forced to intervene. Higher mortgage payments are reducing demand for homes, potentially leading to a housing market collapse. On top of all of that, inflation is unlikely to slow down, causing the dollar to lose value over time. So should you keep your cash? A stock market investment or a mortgage rate of 5 or 6%? Who knows? Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.